Hello everybody and welcome back to another review of this Oxford United season. And I've got to say I'm absolutely speechless at the moment. I'm a bit lost for words. Oxford United recorded their first win of 2023, but I'm not too sure how they managed to do it. Whew, we saw a bit of everything from United in this game, and I've got to tell you, Fleetwood Town will be absolutely kicking themselves how they ended up on the wrong end of this scoreline. But it is Oxford who've come away from Highbury, a ground where we never used to win. We've got back-to-back wins there now, but we come away winners. It ended Fleetwood Town 1, Oxford United 2. And to jump the gun and spoil things, it was Ciaron Brown who got the winner after a torrid week that he's had. Even me, myself, I've put the boot in on Ciaron Brown this week, probably a little bit harshly. I've been called out on it on my previous video for doing that. So I've got to say, he's been great this season. I'm delighted he's played. Let's just put all that nonsense about spot fixing behind him. He got the winner today, and he's been one of the best players for Oxford so far this season. So let's jump into some team news, and we'll look at the game, and then I'll give my player predictions. You can jump ahead to any one of those things by using the timestamps down below. And also, could you give this video a like? And if you like the content, subscribe to the channel today. If you can't subscribe after an Oxford win, then what are you doing? But Oxford United, yes, there were some changes, and I thought it was a pretty strong Oxford United lineup. We had Simon Eastwood back in goal. Ciaron Brown obviously did stay in the side, and we had Yannick Wildschut and Josh Murphy starting on the wings. For the first time, we've seen those two starting. And so Karl Robinson's pinned his hat on those two a lot. So it was exciting to see those two start. Gatlin O'Donkor, obviously exciting to see him start too. A lot of people calling for him to start, me included, to start instead of Matty Taylor. And it was good to see him lead the line today. Oxford playing 4-3-3, Fleetwood playing 4-3-3 as well. And looking at the league table, they're not really too much to choose between the two sides. Both of them had 29 points for the start of this game. Fleetwood with a couple of good wins in a row, a good win over Shrewsbury on New Year's Day, and then they beat QPR in the cup last weekend. So a good start for 2023 for Scott Brown's side. There we go. Shaun Rooney is the only absentee from that Fleetwood side that beat QPR. He's a good player, so good for Oxford that he didn't play. But you would, looking at this game before the start of it, Oxford has been so poor this season. You just didn't know what to expect from them. You never know when you might see a promising performance, or you never know when it just might be more inconsistent rubbish. And we did really see that inconsistency. Today, it's just Oxford United got the result. I've got to be said, though, this game was played in pretty difficult conditions. Fucking windy. Wow, what a gusty gale blowing through Highbury Stadium. And, rain coming in the second half as well. I don't think Oxford dealt with those conditions very well. Fleetwood dealt with them a lot better than Oxford did. In the first half, we'll get to it, Oxford were absolutely atrocious. I do not know how Fleetwood only went in 1-0 up in this first half. Fleetwood were all over Oxford. They created so many good chances. Oxford played so many times we've seen this from Oxford, where they play some decent football, some decent touches in midfield, some decent build-up play, but nothing clean-cut. You could never get any service into Gatlin O'Donkor. I thought Murphy and Wildschut were both really poor, didn't offer anything on the flanks. Neither of them really beat a man and drove Oxford United forward. Very, very little you saw from the likes of Brannigan, Bate and McGuane going forward as well. A lot of sloppy passes, a lot of really poor touches and bad decisions that were made from Oxford United in this game. And Fleetwood were able to just almost counter-attack on us, but pick us off, play through our press, and they played through our press as well as I've seen any side do. This is not a Fleetwood Town side that you would say get the ball, lump it, or just smacking balls into channels. I thought they played some really good football in the first half. Players like Josh Vella were really good. O'Shea, very good at holding the ball up. Hayes, a very good willing runner, a lot of pace down that left-hand side, caused Oxford a lot of trouble in this game. And there was times where they really passed the ball around Oxford really neatly. And nearly first chance Fleetwood have, it was Fleetwood versus Simon Eastwood, and he had a screamer of a first half up until the goal went in. But it was, Josh Vella caused problems all afternoon. But the first chance Fleetwood have really came from Oxford just falling asleep. Long ball in the box from Ciaron Brown throwing. Didn't come to anything. It never really does it? But then Fleetwood broke, and Oxford just about scrambled it out for a throw-in. But then Oxford was still sleeping, and they just threw the ball into Hayes. He seemed to run in on goal. Didn't have a good shot, and Eastwood managed to save it and put it behind. they would say Oxford just never really grew into this first half, and it was Fleetwood who created the chances after 20 minutes. This was probably their most gilt-edged miss. Great ball in again from the ever-impressive Vela. Omache with a free header straight at Eastwood when he could have put it anywhere in the goal he wanted. Straight at Eastwood. Eastwood does make the good save, and Oxford scramble it clear. 35 minutes on the clock. It's Hayes again with a little jinking run. Oxford just couldn't get the ball off him, but he couldn't get a clean strike away, and Eastwood was able to make the save. 36 minutes, a minute later, as another good save from Wiredu. But he is the guy that got the goal right on the end of first half. I thought Oxford just about were going to scrape the half-time at 0-0. In what was probably one of their most miserable first halves of the season, but they didn't, and Fleetwood did take the lead. Probably Eastwood really should have saved this one, but I'm not going to bury him too much because he kept Oxford in it with the other saves that he'd made. But it was a 25-yard side foot effort, not very hard hit, that just seemed to bobble its way in, and it just rounded off a really poor afternoon. At that point, you thought there's no way Oxford are going to come back into this game. We've seen it far too often this season where we're just laboured and poor, and this is one of the worst performances I've seen. Look, I know they've only just come back from injuries, but Robinson's hung his hat on Murphy and on Wiltshire, and they were both crap in this game. They did nothing. So, you know, I mean, they got bailed out in the end, Oxford did, but if these are supposed to be the guys that kind of drag us up through a crappy season, well, we didn't see much of that today, but maybe I'm being a little bit too harsh on them. They're still early in coming back from injury. But overall, Fleetwood all over Oxford. Out more pacey, more skillful, more powerful, and play better football. They were much better. And Oxford all over the place. But credit to Robbo. Lots of scathing comments, as you can imagine, at half-time. But credit to Robbo. He made changes straight away. Marcus McGuane, probably not the one we would expect. Marcus McGuane came off for Bowden. And Bowden pretty much got Oxford a shot on goal, and that is how bad we were. We didn't have a shot on goal or on target in the first half. Bowden immediately came on after 3 minutes, produced a shot which got deflected over. So you saw some flickerings of Oxford as an attacking lineup, but Fleetwood was still causing Oxford problems. There were loads of corners, loads of crosses. Oxford had to withstand a lot of pressure, and I do think in the second half, defensively, Oxford stood up to it. I can't remember too many saves Eastwood having to make in the second half. They did stick to their guns quite well in this game, but it didn't. Again, it looked like it was Oxford not. Although they looked better, you just wondered where the goal was going to come from. Well, he's been injured and he's been sat on the bench, but he came on after 60 minutes, and after 61 minutes, Karl Joseph came back, and wow, what an impact he made. Anderson gave him the ball wide on the right-hand side. He had no right to score, and he just glided between two players, got himself into the penalty area, beat another player, prodded it into the goal. Oxford somehow back level. This goal out of absolute individual brilliance from Karl Joseph. We've wondered where the goal threats have been. Well, there it is. Karl Joseph was fantastic before he got injured. He's hit the ground running when he's come back as well. Oxford bloody needed it, and then we were back in the game. Fleetwood did miss a glaring chance to go 2-1 up in this game. Hayes, brilliant again, created some space, drove into the box. Brilliant cross. I'm saying brilliant a lot. Excellent cross. There we go. Right across the area. Omache looked like all he had to do was touch it in. He somehow manages to sky it over the bar. Think back to Karl Joseph against Plymouth and you will see it's that sort of kind of miss. Really embarrassing that will be played over again, and just thinking, how did he miss it from there? But the game did open up. It was kind of, both sides wanted to go for the win. Nobody was sitting back. Wouldn't say it made it a great game, but it made it intriguing. I thought Devan Anderson started to get better. He started to drive the ball a bit more, getting more intent going forward. Still looked a bit ropey at the back, but he stuck to his task pretty well. Nisala at the back for Fleetwood, I thought was immense. He was so good. He won so many good tackles, so many good headers. Oxford didn't really get much change out of him, and you just kind of thought this one might peter out to a 1-1 draw, but then Oxford go and get a bloody winner. But it is tinged with a lot of luck. There was a smack down field from Simon Eastwood, which Billy Bowden looked like he handballed it on his way to the ball being cleared and going out for a corner. It's handball. Oxford got lucky with that one, but Oxford were given the corner. Kyler Goodrum, I think, swung the corner in. Very deep corner, which hung up in the wind. Elliot Moore did really well to win the first header. Goalmouth scramble. Ciaron Brown is the match winner. Ciaron Brown is the match winner. Fantastic. I mean, it's so amazing for him. I mean, what I said it at the start, what a crappy week he's had. And I'm not going to touch on anything he may or may not have been involved with in that Arsenal game. It's just excellent to see him getting the winner, second goal of the season for Ciaron Brown. Just as important as that one he belted in against Bolton, and then Oxford withstand the barrage at the end and come away with a very unlikely 2-1 win. Right, let's dive into some player ratings then. Let's go through this as quickly as we possibly can. Clap the hand. Starting with Simon Eastwood. He gets an 8 for me. Yes, he won't be happy with the goal, but I thought his general work was very tidy. Great to have Eastie back. Made some great saves. And, definitely played a big part in Oxford United winning this game. He gets an 8. Ciaron Brown also gets an 8. How can you not give him an 8? He scored the winner in this game. Defended manfully like he always does. Tough old task for him today. Didn't get a lot of help from Wiltshire in that first half from a defensive point of view. But he stuck to his guns like he always does. And 8 out of 10 for Ciaron Brown. A lot of these Oxford players have to drag their ratings up from a real miserable first half. So Javan Anderson gets a 6. Much better second half than the first half. Thought he was really poor in the first half. He's up against a really good winger in Hayes. So he struggled a little bit. But again, he kept at it. And there was sometimes he's still one of our most dynamic players going forward. But he gets a 6. Elliot Moore gets a 6 as well. I thought, solid in the second half. Don't think he was great in the first half, but solid in the second half. Lots of headers, lots of blocks, which you expect from the skipper. And played a significant part in the winning goal. 6 out of 10 for Elliot Moore. Longy as well gets a 6. Again, how can you not like Longy? He's playing great at centre-back at the moment. Keeping Stuart Finley out the side, and quite rightly so. I think he's playing really well in there. But again, not great in the first half, but better in the second half. A 6 out of 10 for Longy. Brannigan gets a 6 as well. I thought he channeled his rage quite well in the second half. Made some key tackles and interceptions when Fleetwood were on the break. Passing was pretty good, I thought. Influenced this game pretty well, I thought, Cameron Brannigan. Again, not very good in the first half. Better in the second half. 6 out of 10 for Branners. Marcus McGuane gets a 5. I thought he was poor. All Oxford players were poor in the first half, by and large. Some decent. I thought he was trying to play a little bit further up, but I thought his passing was really woeward. He didn't really influence the game too much for me, and was a good decision to take him off at halftime. Really, he's been great, but he didn't have a good game today. 5 out of 10. Lewis Bate gets a 7. I thought he got better as the game went on. What a touch of brilliance he has. Diminutive player, but very hard to knock off the ball. Very skillful. It gets the ball in some tricky areas. He looks like he's getting better every single game he's on the field. Surely it's a matter of time before he starts creating goals and scoring goals himself, but he gets a 7 out of 10. Yannick gets a 4. Yannick Wiltshire off after 60 minutes. I thought he was really poor. I thought he looked laboured. I thought he looked slow. I thought his touch was heavy at times, and I don't think he was any defensive help to Ciaron Brown in the first half at all. Really, really poor performance from him. The 4 out of 10. Josh Murphy, not much better. He went off after 72 minutes. 5 out of 10. I really struggled to see where these guys were playing. There were times where they were like in the middle and they weren't out wide. Like Fleetwood seemed to be much more tactically assured, and their wide players stayed wide, and it made a big difference. Oxford players didn't. And you never really saw Murphy or Wiltshire really influencing the game. And when they did, they weren't able to beat a man. I'm rambling. 5 out of 10 for Murphy. There's more to come from those two. Gatlin O'Donkor, sad to say, I've got to give him a 5. He got a start. He battled hard. He battled hard. Also gave him nothing. We gave him the same sort of service we've been giving Matty Taylor. And it's not surprising that O'Donkor couldn't really get into the game based on that. He tried hard. He didn't play great. He gets a 5 out of 10. Billy Bowden gets a 6. I thought he came on at half-time. I thought he did all right. I mean, at least he tried to play with some intent, and that was missing in Oxford's game in the first half. He generally tried to make things happen. I don't think he was brilliant, but he made a difference, and so I give him a 6. Kyle Joseph on after 60 minutes. Of course you have to give him an 8. An amazing piece of individual skill. Do you know what? Screw that. I'm going to give him a 9. He was brilliant. He nearly scored a second goal in there as well. He made a massive difference coming back from injury. A wonderful piece of individual brilliance, which got Oxford back into the game. And hopefully he stays fit now to the end of the season, because we need him. Taylor gets a 6. Came on, ran around a bit. I thought it was a better performance from Matt. He looked a bit more interested. And, he played some nice crosses and some nice balls in. I thought he did all right, but didn't really didn't have a shooting chance or anything like that, but I give him a 6 out of 10. And Tyler Goodrum came on after 72 minutes. I actually give him a 7. I thought he did really well. He won some really good, got some balls in some difficult areas, won some free kicks, got Oxford up the pitch, and generally looked pretty good. And I thought was it his corner? I think it was his. I'm giving it him for the corner. We don't do much. We haven't done much from corners and set pieces, really. So I'm giving him that one. 7 out of 10 for Tyler. We come to the main man. Karl Robinson, who at half-time, wow, we were looking at a very low rating. But I think the players, I think he picked a good starting 11 today. It was a starting 11 I wanted to see. They went out and played terrible. That's not really Robinson's fault. The players went out and really let the side down in the first half. But then Robinson's judged on his changes. And I thought his changes were really good. I thought Bodin was good. I thought, obviously, Joseph was good. And Taylor and Goodrum came on and did a good job as well. So, all in all, I have to say Robinson will be really pleased with what he's done to impact the game, and I'm going to give him an 8. And that brings me to my final thoughts. Well, I just can't help but I'm overjoyed with this win. Whew, it's a real smack. It's somehow we've pulled this win out of the bag. I'm overjoyed by it. We've got a tough weekend next week. I went home to Ipswich. I just don't want to get too far ahead and start to think. I've done it too many times this season to start talking about what might be in 5 or 6 games' time. I'm happy that we've won. We've ground out a win today. What it is a little bit of a worry is we're supposed to be a side that's pushing for promotion. We've at best matched Fleetwood today. At best, a side who are probably mid to lower half League One side. And we're only as good as them. I'd like to see us play with be a bit more convincing against the middle of the road side. Middle of the road. I'm sorry, Fleetwood fans, if you're watching. That was really disrespectful. But we're supposed to start the season, and we have hopes of being a promotion side. And we seem to just never really hit those highlights that you'd expect from a side that's pushing to be in the top 6. So let's see where we go. I'm happy that we've got a win. Happy that Kyle Joseph might be back. Whisper it quietly, but Sam Baldock might be back soon. And we'll see. We'll see what we can do against Ipswich. We got absolutely destroyed against them away. Hopefully it'll be a better performance at home. But yeah, let's just enjoy it. It's been a crap start to 2023. This is a good win. Enjoy it. Enjoy it, Oxford fans, Fleetwood fans. What can you do? The luck just wasn't with you today. Hit like, hit subscribe. Interested to know your comments as always. And I'll be back next weekend to do a review of Oxford versus Ipswich. So enjoy it, and I'll see you soon.